Hi, I'm Paul Bettany, and I play Vision or the Vision in WandaVision.
And I am Elizabeth Olsen, and I play Wanda Maximoff.
And we are both here with BuzzFeed to answer all of your burning questions.
When did you first find out that Wanda and Vision would be getting their own series?
I had just died in Infinity War. My contract was up, and I got a call from the boss saying, "Come into the office." And we all know what that means. So I looked at my wife and I went, I think I'm getting the can. I was very nervous as I got over there, and I wanted everybody to feel comfortable and not feel icky about the whole thing, because I thought they were going to be gentlemen and just look me in the face and say it's over. And so I went in and I said, "Look, no, just absolutely no hard feelings. It's been a great run. Thank you so much." And they went, "Wait, are you quitting?" And I went, "No, aren't you firing me?" And they went, "No, we were going to pitch you a TV show." And I went, "Oh, excellent." That was how I found out.
I think Infinity War had just come out and we were about to go and do pickups for Endgame. Yeah, I had a similar experience, but without the firing part because I still had work to do on Endgame. I was just very thrown by the whole TV part of it all. And then when I heard about the concept, I thought it was perfect for television and a very original idea that made me excited. And I thought it'd be fun for you and I to go at it again.
WandaVision uses various sitcom formats and eras to tell the story. Do you have a particular favorite that we did together?
The favorite's hard for me because I feel like that means I have to pick my favorite child, which I cannot do. However, speaking of children, I think the 70s was very fun because I thought it was very fun.
I feel the same. There are things about each and every era that I loved. I did love the feeling of when we came back and shot exteriors for episode 2, because
Yeah.
I guess it was after the hiatus because of the pandemic, and everybody was very worried whether it was even going to work, and it was seeming to work, and it was just a lovely feeling knowing that this job was going to be able to finish. So that was a great moment for me.
So the first 2 WandaVision episodes are in black and white and employ a lot of old school sitcom tricks. What's your favorite behind the scenes memory from filming these episodes?
Running around backstage with you and Catherine Hahn, so nervous at the on the first episode where it was all, we had a live studio audience, and I was really resistant to the idea. I really dug my heels in, and finally it just yielded, and we were there. We were doing it, and just running around like idiots, bumping into Catherine Hahn at the prop table, and then I felt like we were all in school doing a school play or summer stock or something. It just felt really great.
I immediately think of all the practical gags, our special effects team who are used to, blowing things up and setting fire to things and creating fog and wind and watching them become puppeteers of just the kitchen items that were floating in the air. And my favorite one was watching 2 of our special effects guys puppeting a dish rag trying to dry a cup. And it was so complicated and so frustrating for them. They figured it out, but it was really funny watching them trying to figure out how to bounce a dish rag to dry a cup.
What was it like for you when we had to perform in front of a live studio audience?
I thought it was terrifying. I was completely freaked out. I had so much adrenaline and first day nerves going. And the only thing that was getting me through was knowing that I trusted Matt Shackman. And if it was a failure, he would let me reshoot it the next day. But we didn't. He got most of everything we needed.
Yes, and there's that feeling slightly when you're starting something, you can kind of delay making choices for a little while until you find your feet. And this was certainly well, I guess that's what the show is. and that was it. That was actually a really great and freeing feeling.
So WandaVision has a lot of moments of comedy. So was there ever a moment where you couldn't stop laughing while trying to film a scene?
Yes, there have been a few. But weirdly, it's usually moments where I'm having to do things like all they need is you here, and you're supposed to be floating in the air, and then you have to look up and look super dynamic and cool, and I just can't take myself seriously.
No, me neither. I feel like there were a lot of times where you and I got caught up in giggles, but because of how fast we had to film, we weren't allowed to indulge in it.
Yeah.
We really had to move on and had to suck it up. And for some reason, there's a moment that I cannot right now formulate in my memory that I just remember laughing every time we were looking at each other and
Yes.
feeling the pressure of like, you really have to
Don't
like
make me
suck
laugh,
it up
Liz.
right now.
Don't make me laugh. The time you're talking about was during pandemic, so everybody had masks on. You couldn't quite tell whether people were laughing at you or kind of like...
Yeah, just annoyed.
So there are some amazing new characters, obviously, that join Wanda and Vision in the show, namely Catherine Hahn's Agnes and Tiana Paris's version of Monica. What was it like welcoming them to the MCU family?
I just felt so lucky to have both of those women on our set. I can't imagine the show being with any other people. God, we had fun.
Well, I loved the experience because I remember everybody being incredibly welcoming to me when I first arrived in person on Age of Ultron, and it was just really, because it really is there's a real family feel. It was lovely welcoming them in. They're both delightful, funny, and super bright, and then just inordinately talented and willing to go along and join you in the style and the ride and all of that.
Looking back on all your time in the MCU, is there a scene or moment that you're most proud of?
I would say the moment that I was most proud was when we wrapped WandaVision and just thinking in the middle of this thing that has sort of decimated production around the globe, we got through it without a single case, and everybody really stuck to the rules and really took it seriously. Really genuinely made me feel so proud.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think there are also moments in this show that I thought were going to be really hard to pull off. And so I think there's, scenes that I can't talk about specifically right now, but when something seems like kind of impossible, and then you just have to thrust yourself into it because it's the day that you're supposed to do it, and you've been hoping the day would never come.
Yeah, I think that's true, Lizzie. There's a lot of yielding. I just got to let go of my embarrassment muscle and just go for it.
I've talked to a lot of people about how these movies or shows like make you feel absolutely like the stupidest, silliest, most embarrassing moments if anyone could actually see how these things are shot as opposed to how it's edited in the end.
That's right.
And I think that's the greatest thing that Marvel has like given me as an actor, I would say, is like now that kind of freedom of just, doing it and not thinking too much about it and just jumping into the deep end.
That's right.